So the first question I have for you guys today is, how many boyfriends is it appropriate for you to have when you are married? Okay. Now, according to Jen, Meredith has 10. But for you, what is your number? What's up, Sky Squad? We are back in the building, and we are joined by none other than Adam from Up and Adam. Listen, first things first, before we dive into the episode today, we got to send a special shout out to Adam. Adam, you have an interview coming out with Mary Cosby's mother. Okay, that's coming out January 19th. What time?
January 19th at 5 p.m. And then if anyone wants to check out the trailer, we dropped it yesterday.
The trailer's out. I shared it on my Instagram story. It's all over the place. Absolutely. You know we're gonna support you over here. And then guys, 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? That's Wednesday, right?
It's Wednesday, yeah.
Okay, so that way, listen, 5 p.m., you're off work, okay? You know you're going to be ready for this information. And from the trailer, it looks like it's very surprising what her mom had to say.
It's shocking, and everyone keeps asking, who was the man in there? That man has been her stepfather for over 30 plus years, has known Mary since she was a little girl, has been a big part of her life. I think everyone will be shocked to hear what they have to say. And to be honest with you, Richie, when I do my interviews, I like to keep everything professional and positive. So before I decided to take on this interview and fly to Salt Lake, I wanted to make sure that it was not a Mary bashing session. I wouldn't have taken it on had it have been, because I don't want to do that. She already walked away from the show, but there are so many elements. This is like a rose where we're peeling layers and peeling like petals off, and so many different family members are coming out. So I was like, who better to ask than her own mother? When I called her mother, she's such a big fan of yours, which she said. She's like, I love Richie. She's like, Adam, how's Jason? And I was like, you watch? And she's like, oh, I've been watching you since 5,000 subscribers. She told me which YouTubers she doesn't like, which ones she loves. And I was like, wow, you're well-versed in this whole YouTube world. She's like, oh, I see everything. I was like, okay.
Yes, Mary's mama. Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate that love over here, and we send it right back. And you know what, Adam? I think that the thing that you do very well is, I feel like your interviews add to the story. And what I mean by that is, I oftentimes feel like the reason why I like to do interviews sometimes is because I want to interview people who haven't had the opportunity to share their story. And I think that my belief is that you come from a similar place. And so I just want to shout you out for that. And I think it's going to be amazing. And we will all be watching.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to pick your brain after. But in the meantime, I guess it's like a little over 48 hours away. It'll come soon. It'll come soon.
Oh, yes. Wednesday will be here before we know it.
Yes.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about episode 17 today. And I want to go ahead and shout out to the squad who's watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. And go ahead and drop your rating for this episode in the comments as you guys are, typing and chatting. Let us know what you would rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, because we got to get into this thing. Adam, to start things off, what are you going to give this week's episode on a scale of 1 to 10? Or actually, would you prefer that I go first?
No, because you always make me the Simon Cowell. No, I wouldn't. Actually, no, because then I'm going to base my answer, either enhance it to be more than yours or whatever the case is. But I have to say, this wasn't my 10, but it was a solid 9.2 for me. Watch, Richie's about to upstage me. It was a 9.2 for me because we had so many moments in this. We saw Mary kind of excited to be on a trip for once, even though she had some moments where she wasn't, happy with the interactions. We saw Jen in 2 moments that got really heated because emotions are high considering the circumstances. Meredith, iconically disengaging. I was like, there is a lot happening here. And Lisa Barlow being put on blast with bad weather being the pot stirrers. This was a lot.
Well, first things first, that's probably the highest rating you've given all season.
I think so. More than the Jen Shah arrest episode, for sure.
Which is shocking.
I know.
You know what? My natural inclination was going to be to give it a 9. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I mean, And I don't know what it was that it was missing that would have given it a 10 for me, because you're right. We had a lot last night. Meredith went, like, to me, I felt like everyone around that table except for Mary had it out for Meredith in some way, shape, or form. I felt like she handled herself way better than I thought that she would have ever been able to do. I was extremely excited that she shut down Jenny, because that just bothered me to no end. It was interesting to see that Mary would have preferred to actually have been on the bus to see the fight. That was also wild to me. Jen Shah is back to Jen Shawing. I mean, and for whatever reason, Whitney was highly annoyed in this episode, like surprisingly so. Like, it almost seemed like a different person to me in this particular episode. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because she was planning the events, but she was not here for anything from Mary, anything from Meredith last night.
You know what she reminded me of is, do you remember when Jen Shah threw the party for Coach Shah and she wanted to drop the bomb, but she's like, hold on, give me another sip of the drink. And then like she worked up the courage, because some people are like that. You need a little bit of liquid courage sometimes to say what you're thinking, because you get nervous. These are a lot of powerful women. And is that the best thing to do? No. But is that how this came off? Absolutely. And you could tell with Heather and Whitney, the way that they were navigating this whole episode, huddled up together in the bathroom together. They knew exactly what they were doing. I'm here for bad weather. I really am. I thought, okay, you're doing it. You're keeping that storyline going.
Yes, that nickname, it sticks, because it definitely felt like they were kind of in cahoots this particular episode. Even if you watch their reactions to the stuff that's going down, like, it was just like they were watching a ping pong match happen, and it was riveting. Right. So we're going to break things down into sections real quick today as we talk about this. And the first section is obviously the aftermath of the fight from last week, where we see Jen Shah getting all up in Lisa's face. She has a problem with getting in people's faces. Let me just say that. Really invading her personal space, so much to the point where Lisa has to like push her back. The producer has to intervene, pull Jen Shah back, only for that to devolve into Jen then, upset about possibly not seeing her family as a result of what she believes could have been possibly Mary or Meredith going to the feds on her. And the next thing you know, Lisa is comforting her, and you have Bad Weather sitting back looking a little bit annoyed that they had recovered so quickly. A little bit of my interpretation of the scene. But what did you think about this?
I think that, listen, this is a person for Jen. We have to go by, and I understand there's a documentary. We didn't get a lot of, in the documentary, the Housewife and the Shah Shocker, we did not get Jen Shah victims who were claiming that they were, taken advantage of by Jen Shah. We got victims who were taken advantage of by people who were somewhat associated with businesses that Jen Shah worked at, so that's kind of where they led with this. Whereas like for the Girardi trailer, we got Girardi victims. So I think there is a lot of stress here. I think that, this woman knows that they just raided her house with weapons. They walked her son and her nephew out. She's looking at her life flash before her eyes, wondering what's going to happen with her kids, fighting for her freedom. I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but in the United States, we go based off of, innocent until proven guilty. There has to be emotions. I remember I had a cousin who was going to jail for 30 days and she had, 3 children. And I remember sitting there with her while she was crying and she's like, my life's over. And it was 30 days in jail, but she never had a speeding ticket before this. And I think she got a DUI or something. But the point is everyone reacts different. I could not imagine having this hanging over my head and not being emotional.
That's a good point. That's a valid point. And I think that's what was maybe Lisa's overarching sort of way of thinking and why she embraced her so easily after, Jen had gotten in her face. Because, I think you kind of mentioned this last week. Jen getting in someone's face is probably not a good look for her since she's already been to jail.
I don't, and I only say that because I do so many interviews and collabs with Emily D. Baker and Ronald Richards and people who are attorneys. And I asked, like, how will this play out in court? Will they use this footage? And they say, absolutely, they can use this footage. They're going to use the footage and show either you're drinking too much, you got physical, you did this. And this is exactly why, the defense teams behind Jen Shah and also Erica, most likely from what we heard, said, please do not continue filming because anything that you do can be used against you in court and you'll have to answer to it. Now, for Jen, I think that she was probably thinking, this is my stream of income at this point, so I'm going to continue filming, but it doesn't mean that she's not going to let her emotions get the best of her in moments. And I have to say, Richie, if I had this kind of stress over my head, I think I would have reacted even bigger than this. I don't know. I don't have children, but I couldn't imagine not seeing my kids and somebody telling me you're going to prison for 50 years. It's just a lot. And then, unfortunately, Lisa, in this whole Meredith thing, it's really cotton candy drama. You can't be her friend if you're going to be my friend. This is all cotton candy, but it just goes to show that anything right now at the drop of a pen, everyone's on edge and everyone's going to give you a reaction.
I guess, and trust me, listen, I love the way you broke that down. I love the cotton candy drama. I think I'm going to use that at some point. Stolen. Let me read this real quick. Meredith was the MVP. This is from Bruce, and has been all season. I'm glad she put Jenny in her place. She didn't have the same energy towards Meredith as she has towards Mary. We'll get to Jenny in a minute. Trust and believe. But I think the thing that bothers me a little bit is that even Jen Shah is continuing this narrative that maybe Meredith or Mary went to the police or something. Because let's call a thing, okay? Now, regardless of whether or not Jen is innocent or guilty, one thing is for certain. Clearly, there is or has to be some understanding that something she has done or worked on in the past has gotten her into trouble with the law. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that she is innocent, right? But let's say also that you've had conversations with your lawyer. You've seen the court documents. You understand where this is. You have to understand where this is coming from. So what makes you think that it was Mary or Meredith that happened to just run to the feds, tell them your life story as much as they know, and now you are being indicted? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, as we all know, Jen probably won't be doing interviews anytime soon because of all of this and because of filming and the season's still going. And it's hard to get talent right now when the season's filming anyways. It's a lot easier to get them when it's off the air. But for Jen, I would love to pick her brain and kind of see where she came up with that. Because going back to my collabs with, lawyers, I asked them, how does this work? And they said, this is an investigation that takes place over X amount of time, sometimes years, where they collect information, make sure that they have a strong case. And this is the Southern District of New York that has a 98% prosecution rate. They make sure that they have a strong case. They apparently have over 1 million pages of documents that have evidence against Jen. If that's true, I would love to know as well, why would you think that this is Mary and Meredith? But maybe in this moment, she doesn't know that they have over 100 pages of documents of what they're claiming as evidence. I'm trying to figure out what time this was throughout all of this.
Well, this was Mother's Day.
Oh, Mother's Day. Yes. What, Richie? You're like, shut up.
I know what day it was. Okay. It was in May. So, to me, again, your lawyer has got to have told you by now, this is what's going on, right? We all knew what the accusations were. So in some way, shape, or form, there has to be something in her mind. Again, assume she's innocent. Something in her mind should have told her that there's maybe have been something that she's done or a company that she's worked for in the past that may have been doing something wrong.
Right.
But obviously she can't say it. But even with that knowledge, why would you then go and say, well, maybe Meredith or Mary had something to do with it? It just sounds very cockamamie to me and unbelievable. And it almost feels like the other ladies are piling on to this for whatever reason. And it's told they have to know the truth that this is a sham. Like that. Come on now.
You know, I've said this from day one that I love Whitney and Heather on the show. I have a good relationship with Whitney. Now, when I just went on my trip to Salt Lake, I met up with Meredith 2 nights in a row, and we had drinks and had a great time. I even said from the get-go that I think that this is a silly storyline after it was explained to me how these documents are unsealed. You know, in my mind, unless there's something we don't know, you don't just make a phone call. Like, I can't just call and say, hey, my friend Chris is doing something wrong. And then all of a sudden, Chris's home is being stormed by Homeland Security, NYPD, and like, because that's a whole production, right? That's next level. It's not like the cops are showing up and saying, hey, we got a call. It is next level. So running with this storyline, I thought was a little cockamamie, like kind of crazy nuts. But I was assured that I'll see how it plays out.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, listen, straight from Salt Lake City, Adam with a little bit of tea right there. Okay. Keep watching, y'all. Keep watching. Okay, so let's move on. The ladies get to the house. You know, they have some fun in the sun. They're getting ready for the Red Earth ceremony that Whitney has had planned. They have very little time to get ready. Meredith and Mary arrive. Bad weather are hiding in the bathroom. Meredith finds them. They tell Meredith about the bus fight between Lisa and Jen. And the next thing you know, they're off to the Red Earth ceremony. Now, Whitney says that she ran to tell Meredith, come on down in your clothes. You don't have time to change. But she does not have time, allegedly, to tell Mary, who is in the adjoining room, that they have to go. Mary, she don't care anyway because she's more interested in getting dressed, and she never would have planned an event for the same day they got there anyway. They get to the Red Dirt ceremony, and they, you know, are trying to basically cleanse their auras, so to speak, and just get rid of negativity, or allegedly get rid of negativity. Mary arrives, she's off to the side. Any thoughts about this scene? That whole combination of scenes right there.
I am trying to play devil's advocate here and see both sides, because that's what I try. I don't want to ever be like, you're wrong, unless I really feel like that. I can see Mary's side where she was like, you know, or Whitney's side when she's like, you know, Mary got upset with me when I didn't answer her phone call immediately when I was carpooling and didn't return it in a timely fashion. She got really upset and ended our whole friendship. So now, you know, I have something planned. How am I supposed to act? But also, that villa is not that big where you can't just walk over. And Meredith did say her room is on the other side of mine. It's right over there. You couldn't just walk over, knock on the door and be like, Mary, if you're not down in 5 minutes, we're leaving you. We'll send the Sprinter back, but at least notify her. So I would have been annoyed had I had been Mary, but Mary and Meredith chose not to ride on the Sprinter bus. Had they have rode on the Sprinter bus, they would have had a lot more time to get ready. It's a balance act right here. I don't know who's more wrong.
Well, to me, I mean, here's the thing. In real life, I would have, if I were Mary, I would have made the attempt to be there when I was supposed to be there, because I do like to follow production schedules. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And in my mind, if that's the schedule, I'm sticking to it. Now, Mary being, I mean, you know, it's interesting. Mary can be accused of being cantankerous, you know, a little bit like, you know, seemingly, you know, just kind of off in her own world, but she comes across as very real at times. And I say at times because she sometimes is contradictory. And what Jen said to last night was true. Mary is being real. She is not going to do something she doesn't want to do, even though I think it would have been the polite thing to do, because like Whitney said, I went to your church. That's not, you know, your church isn't exactly what I believe, but I was there and I was supportive. And it would have been nice had Mary done the same thing.
Mary gave me, though, the vibes like when Heather Dubrow. Are you watching Orange County right now? That's
yes and no. Okay.
Okay.
I watched the first episode. I was so annoyed by Heather. And the way she treated Shannon, I was just like, I need a break for a minute. I'm going to go back.
Orange County does that to you.
It does. It really does. Number one, I'm a Shannon fan because she's crazy.
Okay. Well, on the show, if you're watching, you see where Heather gets to a point with one of her cast members, Noella, and she's like, honestly, I don't think I'm the right friend for you, which is fine. I'm sure you have enough friends. I'm not the right friend for you. And let's keep it at that. We see each other. We say hello. Okay. And Mary gave me that same vibe where she's looking at Whitney across the table and she's like, I can't give you what you need from me. And I respect that. I've had friends before who have been so incredibly needy, but for no reason. It's just that either they're lonely or whatever the case is. And I've tried my hardest, but it became such a toxic relationship that I had to say, if you need me for anything, please let me know, but we can't do this every day. And it doesn't make me a bad friend or you a bad person. It's just like everybody has their own life. So for Mary to be that straightforward, I respect that. Now, is that what Whitney wanted to hear? Absolutely not. But I think also emotions were high because we had a couple cocktails.
Yeah. Especially Jen, but we'll get back to that in a second. So they leave the red earth ceremony to get back to the house, which somebody, I think it was TV Deets, commented on today. It was literally in the driveway. Okay. Dinner is in the driveway at the table in front of the house. So they're sitting out there in their white looking, everybody's looking good. And the conversation just goes downhill. Whitney is usually in charge of setting things off, and that she does tonight. Now, you are right, Adam. This year she was not stuttering as she did so. Whitney at this point knows what she's doing. And at this point, she is kind of an expert, a pro in this whole reality space. And she literally puts everything out on the table. Her biggest gripe with Meredith is that she stands by Mary. And she doesn't understand why Meredith doesn't understand that Lisa stands by Jen. I also don't understand why Heather and Lisa stand so firmly behind Jen and they leave Meredith out to dry. It's very interesting to me. One person literally had the feds raining down on her, and then one person has been accused of being a cult leader.
Where do you go?
I don't know who I'm standing behind, but I definitely don't think it's the person that had the FBI near raiding my business. So I definitely don't always understand Heather's blind loyalty to Jen. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think Heather is standing behind that, again, going back to the innocent until proven guilty, she needs a friend. I have compassion for her because she has a family. She's a mother. I think Heather's coming from that place and not thinking about, the legalities of it all. And she's really trying to be a friend to Jen because she was more of a friend with Jen before all of this happened, before she was with Meredith. And for Whitney at the beginning was not quick to be on Jen's side. She ended up having a conversation with Jen and Heather and then felt compassion for where she's at in her life and what could potentially come. Like, what hell is going to rain down on your life? So she took a step back and she's like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and like kick a horse while it's down. I'm going to, there's a lot happening. Let me show compassion. I don't know how these women choose their sides. I am curious to see how this continues to play out. I'm shocked, Richie. I'm shocked. I do have to say, at the beginning, when we started covering this, the first 9 episodes, I was like, Salt Lake City, you're losing me. And now from episode 10 to here where we're at, I'm like, oh, you got me back.
Mm-hmm.
You got me back good.
These women's relationship, you are right. They're very interesting. And I feel like sometimes we never know from week to week who's going to kind of turn on who and how it's going to play out. Just a couple of quick bits that I feel like I want us to cover. There was this moment where Jenny comes out and says, well, Meredith, you got angry at me for bringing Jen around because Lisa wants to know, will Meredith and Jen ever be able to be around each other, even though they're around each other right now? And that's when Jenny chimes in with that. And Meredith basically tells her, well, I'm shocked that you invited her because you called her a criminal.
And when Jen, what did she scream across the table? She's like, you, Jenny, I'm not a criminal.
I'm not a criminal.
I'm like, and I bleeped myself out. I didn't say the cuss word, but she did. And she's like sitting there eating her bread, like mouth half full, trying to figure out what just happened. And she heard her name and she just clicked and she's like, you. And I was like, what is happening at this table? This is a long day. You could tell they've been filming all day. I feel like this is like the end of a reunion where you see, it reminds me of like the presidency where we see someone take the office and it's like year 1 and then you get them on year 4 and you see that they have gray hair and they've aged and there's like wrinkles and it's like, this is all in one day on one episode. That's what I'm getting here.
I was literally happy about it because then it also came up again for whatever reason, because Jen asked Meredith, did she hire a private investigator for her? And Meredith has to tell her, no, I had a private investigator because of threats against my family. In my mind, I feel like we have seen Jenny tell Jen that Meredith had hired a private investigator specifically for her. And Heather was the person that had to correct Jenny that it was actually about the threats against her family. Right. Why, to me, it seemed like Jenny backpedaled severely at that moment.
I think, and I like Jenny, but I think that she was looking for a moment. I think right now, Jenny, can you imagine being in Jenny's place, coming into this with cult allegations, the FBI, private investigators? It's like, where do I come in and say something that's going to land, that's going to secure my spot, and I'm adding to the conversation and making you guys know, hey, Jenny Wynn is here. But this is a big wrong. This whole thing is wrong, because even when Meredith brought up the conversation of the PI after everything happened, she didn't say, I specifically got one for Jen. She said, I hired a PI because there were threats against my family. And then when she corrected the situation and said to the whole table, honestly, I submitted every single one of your names. And the PI said 90% they think it was you. It does confirm what Jen was upset about, because she's like, wait a minute. Okay, so it is kind of about me indirectly, but you're saying the PI said it was about me. But then also Meredith's like, what do you want me to do? I just started reality television. I've never put my family on this platform. We're receiving very hateful threats. I'm going to find out who the source is. I don't blame Meredith for hiring a PI.
I don't either.
I think Jenny shouldn't have shared that information incorrectly.
If anyone was going to share that information, it should have been someone else. It could have been Heather, because Jenny wasn't even around at that point. So it's like, you have nothing to do with this. Get out of it.
You were looking for.
She just hurts me.
She was definitely looking for a moment, but even I felt Jen's frustration in this when Jen's like, you told me that it was because of me. And now, Jen's sitting there with lawyers and, court dates and all of this happening, her house being raided, her children having these hard conversations, her mother trying to help her out financially, knowing that there's a $2 million retainer. All of this is sitting there, and now she has to go film with someone who's investigating her family in her mind because you took the information back incorrectly. I would be upset too.
Mm-hmm. I would. I definitely agree with you. I felt for her in that moment, because it's kind of like, I don't know who to trust right now, to be honest with you. Exactly. Says all signs point towards Jen Shah, allegedly. Thank you for that super chat. Let me just put this disclaimer at the bottom. Okay, so the next thing we get is this huge altercation between Jen Shah and Meredith, where Jen Shah, gets in Meredith's face. She basically is saying that, if you had something to do with me being investigated by the feds, kind of like a big F you to you for doing that. Meredith point blank says she had nothing to do with it. She calls Jen revolting, and she's about to walk off. But before we get to that moment, there's this very interesting thing that Jen says, and I literally wrote it down.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God. What did she say to Meredith? They get into an argument about Jen showing her hoo-ha that night last season, okay? And all the people that were telling Jen that her hoo-ha was showing, okay? Now, at that point, that's when Jen says something about what she knows about Meredith. And then Meredith says something about what she knows about Jen, baby. And I was just like, what are you two arguing about right now? Because it felt very, honestly, now I love me some Meredith. And I like Jen too. And I'm not trying to accuse them of nothing. But it felt like this was about something else.
It did. I mean, I couldn't figure it out at this point either. I think that this has to be a buildup. It reminds me of someone who like sits there and stews. Like they keep taking it. They're like, okay, I'll let that one go. Take it, let that one go. And then all of a sudden it's like, someone can only take so much. And I feel like that's what we got. These are obviously two very hurt women, and they feel hurt by each other. Jen feels like Meredith and, her son exposed her and kind of made her look like she was so reckless and showing off her hoo-ha on camera. And now her kids are probably being mocked at school about this. So that affected her family. And Meredith is like, wait a minute, you like tweets allegedly about my son, claiming certain things that this hasn't even been a conversation that our family has entertained publicly. So they both are so hurt. I can see where both of them are coming from. It's just sad. This is like a buildup of, and I know what everyone wants to hear. And I even get it in my own, comment section when I recap Salt Lake or talk about it in any capacity. People are like, Adam, choose a side. But it's easy for me to do that. But I can see, I always try to understand both sides. Yeah, it's not I'm not like team this person or I mean, unless it's so blatantly obvious, I can be team somebody if it's blatantly obvious. But in this situation, I can see why everyone's hurt all across the board. Everyone.
Well, let's just put it on the table because I don't know if it was on the after show or if it was on the actual show itself, because I did watch some clips from the after show. But there was a moment in one of those two things where there was this notion that there was somebody that Meredith, a guy that Meredith had, I guess, maybe talked to during the separation from Seth, that maybe Jen had allegedly also gotten with after the fact. Was that in the episode or was it in the after show? So
I actually went live 15 minutes after the after show started. I haven't watched the full one, so I didn't catch that. But I did hear the 10 guys. I heard the fraud. I heard the walk away and the second fraud comment. It's a lot of accusations here. There's a lot of accusations all over the board. It's like, you allegedly took advantage of hundreds of victims. You're allegedly cheating on your husband with 10 different men. If anything, what I took away from this is I'm never signing up for reality TV ever. I would just rip my head off.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I won't.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the table. This situation very much gave me Portia and Candy vibes from several seasons ago. They arguing about something, some interaction. I don't know if it was with another man or something like that. Maybe it was the same man. I don't really know. It sounds like this is about to come out, but that's how it feels to me. And I just have to be very honest about it because, I mean, if I don't, then it's just going to sit on me and I'm not going to feel happy until I say it. So I said it. But that's how it feels.
So I said it. It's out there. I said what I said, and I'm not taking it back.
I can't, because it just feels, again, like my spidey senses tells me there's a deeper issue here that's not being discussed. And again, we may not ever know the truth, but I do feel like it will come out in the rest of the episodes. That's just my general sense.
I mean, I believe that we still have a good 3 or 4 episodes left, like with the finale in it. So we have episodes left for sure. And then I think we're getting a 3-part reunion. Maybe even with Jen, who knows? Maybe they'll cut it to a 4-part reunion, like the, Erica Girardi situation. In Potomac, we got a 4-part reunion. It seems to be the trend this year. I don't know.
let me just say this. First of all, thank you, Chrissy. No to the 4-part reunion.
I'm here with you. I don't need a month of a reunion that we can wrap up in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. It's unnecessary. I would rather you move on to the next season. Like, don't give me 4 parts of and 2 parts are fluff. Just give me 2 to 3 really exciting episodes. Call it a day, and let's move right on and get into filming for the next season, which I'm hearing is supposed to start sometime soon.
Right. And we don't need 30 minutes on the intro episode of like seeing them get ready in the trailer and being like, how are you? How are you? All right, everyone. Welcome back to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Obviously, Mary's not here, and this was her last act as a housewife. We're like 40 minutes in, and we're like, okay.
Adam, you know it's going to be said exactly like that.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I'm like, we're so well versed in this at this point, it's almost sick. I don't know which one's worse, but it is what it is. What do we? We'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna go down exactly like that. They could give us that intro package in a digital form on BravoTV.com. Adam, anything you're looking forward to seeing next week? We know you got the interview coming out with Mary's mom. We're gonna be watching that on Wednesday at 5 p.m. But anything else you think about for next week that you are excited to see?
I mean, I want to see where this goes, how it continues. I want to see, like who's screaming at each other, because we saw that there's like another moment that gets heated. Will there ever be any resolve within this group between Mary and Whitney, Meredith and Lisa, Meredith and Jen? Are we going to get to that place, or is it just going to be conflict, and wait for the reunion to get the resolution? And I'm kind of loving low-key the comedic relief between Bad Weather and doing the pot stirring thing, because they're giving me like the Lisa Rinna vibes or an Ashley Darby vibe, where they're just like, well, drop a bomb, good luck. And then they just like sit back and we get their eyes like not knowing. They're probably like, production's not zooming in on us. And you see their eyes like, look what we just did. Mom and dad are fighting, but I'm digging it.
They in general, they amuse me. There's not really, I mean, overall, really, there's not a person on this cast that I just don't think is necessary. I think that Jenny is finding her way. She's done some things that to me are a little annoying, but I'm willing to give her a chance as we move into the next season. I enjoy Bad Weather. I enjoy them fighting with Lisa. I enjoy Lisa fighting with Jen. Meredith and Jen seems, again, there's something else. I don't know what it is, and I will find out. I think we all will find out, but it just, to me, it's just like, what are you guys really arguing about here?
What's happening? There's more.
What's happening? Adam, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks. You guys can find me on my channel, Up and Adam. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming your way. Obviously, we have the Mary Cosby's Parents exclusive sit-down tell-all coming on Wednesday, January 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then I might be getting on a plane again this week to go for another exciting interview. So hopefully, we talk about it, Richie, and you kind of were the one who schooled me in this too, is like, we don't mention names until you got it, because you don't have it until you got it. And right now I don't have it, so I'm not mentioning it, but I can say we do have exciting stuff coming our way. So hopefully you guys are just excited as we are. And I can't wait, Richie. As soon as the interview drops, I'm not expecting you to be watching it at 5 p.m., but you have to text me and let me know your thoughts. I'm dying.
Oh, you know I will.
I'm sure you will. And be so brutally honest. I can take it. After a year and a half in the YouTube world, in these YouTube streets, I can take it.
I will, but you know I'm Paula.
yeah, you are Paula. You are Paula, for sure.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tune into that interview again at 5 p.m. January 19th. Get all the way into it. Leave your comments, support, all that good stuff like that. Also, guys, thanks again for watching and being a part of the chat. And we will catch you all in the next video.